Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to our final part of our HTML and CSS tutorial. I hope you were able to follow along with what we were able to make in a short amount of time. It doesn't look the prettiest, but now it does look pretty. It went from that basic white space that we did have, and we were able to add some borders and things. And since, like I said before, if you are on a different screen, it will look a little bit different on your end than what it probably looks on mine, depending on the screen that you're working with. But I hope that you were able to take some of those skills that I were able to teach you and see how we're able to, create something like that just to get you towards the basics. Just a couple reminders, like I said, since it is a local file that is not live on the internet, so you can create something that looks totally janky and something that doesn't look the prettiest, but no one else is going to see it other than the people that you show on your own computer. This is not live because it is not on a server to be published to the web. So if you make something and it doesn't look the best, don't worry, it's not on the internet for everyone to see. But now what we have created is something a little bit basic, but it's just the introductory to some HTML elements and how to use CSS. If you further your HTML and CSS skills, you will learn to use different forms of HTML and different forms of CSS. What we used was internal CSS because I wanted to teach you how to do it all in one file so you won't have to open many different files and get confused, since this is an online tutorial. But I hope you enjoyed it for the most part. Now that it looks pretty, even though I'm not here physically to answer any questions that you may have, or if there's anything that you are confused about, this is pretty much the basics of CSS and HTML and what you can do with it. There is definitely a lot more to learn in different ways to make your own website look unique and professional. And I'm going to go over some of these things. So right here, I have a couple of websites that I'm going to show you. One is called CSS Tricks. I'm going to open that up for you. And what this is that this is basically a website that shows you all the kind of different CSS that you can use and how to declare certain things, how they are. So you can see this one has those classes we were talking about, but this will go over different types of HTML and CSS that we have here. You have all kinds of different articles and videos and guides as well as books. This is a very good website to use when you want to learn more CSS, so I do recommend that you use it. Another one that is really popular to use is W3 Schools in CSS. This one goes over CSS, but if you look over here over to at the top here, you also have HTML at the top, as well as JavaScript, Python, and PHP and SQL. This is a very good website to teach you all kinds of different HTML as well as all kinds of different CSS, and they do give you different examples here where you can try it yourself. So you can click try it yourself and see how all of your different HTML types are working out and how this may look in your browser. So as you can see, this is where we have our headers. These are without the classes that we created. This is a heading, so this is what it shows right here. And then this is a paragraph that shows you right here. You also always will have your basic skeleton, which includes that HTML header, the title, the closing head, the body, the closing body, and your closing HTML. You always want to make sure whatever you are putting in here is always going to be in the body so that it appears here. So this is a really good website to help you practice more of your HTML skills as well as get different CSS elements that you can learn about in different attributes, margins, and everything to go in more depth. As we can see here, we have this reused some of it before. We use the inline, or not inline, but internal CSS right here. And you can see where you have your H1 and it has the color in your text alignment, this will go over a lot more depth of different CSS that you are able to use. So I do recommend that you do use W3 Schools to be able to enhance your stuff and go around and really mess around with HTML and CSS. The best way for you to learn is to go and mess around with it, mess things up, and fix them again and try to figure it out. That is coming from someone who has done this for about 8 years. So I can definitely tell you, breaking and messing with things and being able to create something, even if it doesn't look the best, it's all the whole part of your development and learning. Another one that is a really good resource, which is Codecademy. Now, for the most part, Codecademy, you do have to pay for some things, but a lot of it is free. And if you go here over in the category, we're going to go into some categories. You will see that they have one specifically for HTML and CSS. Some of these are some that you do have to pay for, but there are a lot of introductory ones that are for free that you can learn, and these will be able to walk you through a lot of those codes and teach you more about HTML elements and CSS. So as you can see, you have learned HTML and learned CSS, and these are both free. These things such as pro or exclusive courses is where you do have to pay a fee, about a monthly fee if you want to learn more of that. But this is a really good place to get you started off with. And they also have different kinds of ways that you can learn programming, such as SQL and JavaScript, which JavaScript is something that you might get into in the future when you're talking about web development, because it can do some really cool things for you. The last one I'm going to show you, which is the thing I showed you before, where we were talking about hexadecimal codes. This right here is a color Adobe where we have a color wheel. Remember how I told you we were messing around with those hexadecimal colors here? So you can see that this is a color wheel. And what this is you can basically drag it and create all kinds of different color schemes that you want, so that you can put those in your color of your text or put the color into your background. So say if I wanted this green color, I can copy and paste that right over here. And wherever I had, let's say, a hexadecimal color, here I can change that background color to that color. And I'm going to refresh it. It's going to look kind of janky. But see, you can go there and you can change it to look all kinds of different colors. So you can change the color of your text, you can change the color of your background. A color wheel is a definite way to get more different color schemes instead of just the basic ones where I said where we had white as our text or blue as our background. You can get different color schemes using hexadecimal colors here, and Adobe Color is a really good way to be able to expand upon that and get different type of color schemes, especially when you're creating different kind of websites and you want to mess around with different colors that may not be available to you just as basic color words. So this is the end of our tutorial. I hope that you were able to find that to be very interesting. I'm going to show you the end of our code just in case you missed some of the things that we went over. So just as I said earlier, you have your HTML tags here, you have your title, you have your internal CSS. So we had our class title, our class menu, our anchor tags, which helped with our links, the navigation in the unordered list that we had here. We had put all this nice stuff such as color, position, display, justify content, margin, padding, and font size and background. We also had our dot welcome box. That was the class that we created to create that little box that we had there with the border. We have the border color, position, and border style in our text align, as well as height. And padding left and right if you did use those. We also had our paragraph class that we had here. We made the font size to be 20 pixels. You can also up that size a little bit more, but it may not fit inside your border box that you did make for your welcome box or the side box that we made. You want to definitely be careful with your font sizes that you choose to create. We also did another one for our side box, which we made the color just white. We have dot footer text. This is the class that we made for our footer. We made the color white, our font size to be 15, and we wanted it at the bottom 30 pixels. We also had our side box here. We made the position absolute. We made the right position to be 0 pixels. We put it to the top 205 pixels, and the height and the background color, our width, our border, our padding, and our margin. We also edited our image here in the CSS as well. We made the position relative, and we made it a width of 200%. And we also have our closing tag right here, as well as our closing header. We have our body, which contains everything that we just put on our website, such as the header. We made it a header 1, which says Amelia's Bakery. We have our navigation here that has our unordered list with our list contents for our links that we created using the anchor tag. We made a home, about, goodies, and contact. We made them using these hashtags so that they can't be clickable to go to these other pages since we don't have other pages set up. And then we ended it with a closing tag for our unordered list and a closing navigation tag, which is something that I did forget in our other video, which was very important because it did mess with how our navigation looked. We also have the div class here, where we made some dividers here. We named it a class, we did welcome box, and we added some paragraph tags in here. We named them color change. We added them all just like this. Again, you don't have to follow everything per word. You could make these shorter. You can add more detail into it if you want to, but that is basically those paragraph tags. And we also ended it with our closing div tag. We made another divider here for the side box. We added our image, which was located in our photos subfolder that was in the folder that we may have created already, with the name of the file, which is cookies.jpg, and alternative text. We made another class for our paragraphs. We named it color2, which contained the information about Amelia and her bakery. We also have here at the end, we had our footer, and we had a paragraph tag, which we had a class attached to it with the footer text. We named it owner, Amelia's Bakery, and we put a fake email address down in the footer. We also closed that footer, we closed our body, and we closed our HTML tag. And we came with something sort of like this, aside from the color that I just added. And it looks just like this. There's definitely a lot more that you can do with HTML and CSS, but this is just the basics, and I hope you were able to take something away from it. And if you have any questions, there are resources out there, as well as CWIT is ready to help you with any questions that you may have had or will have in the future. But like I said at the end, I will see you next time. We go back to the very ending of that slide. I hope to see you next time. I hope that you had a great time watching this tutorial, and thank you for your time, and have a great day, great evening, wherever you are in the world right now. I will talk to you later.